loving yourself is really not the same as someone else loving you.
I don't really need anyone. I'm great on my own. I want someone.
And like if the woman is like 29, 30, people would feel like there must be some, like, why is she not married yet? Like there must be something wrong. But I think it gets worse with age because all of your friends are getting married now, and you're like that fifth wheel who's like with two other couples.
Yeah.
Being single really sucks. And
yeah, I love it. Chandra identifies as a single.
I currently am identifying as single for the first time since my birth. Since day one.
So you've always been in a relationship? Like, do you feel you've jumped from relationship to relationship?
That's correct. So I think it's also interesting, and I've seen this in some of my friends too, where like, you know, what types of people kind of are serial monogamous, right? And what is it about them that they really are drawn to that deep level of commitment as opposed to kind of just dabbling or having casual flings here and there. And I think innately I feel like I have so much love to give in me, and when I meet a person I really long to deeply invest in that person emotionally and overall, and that's what I do every time. Like, I'm not interested in having any superficial engagements with anyone, and in some cases that can also tend to backfire because if the other person isn't in the same place as you, then it's a little bit of a mismatch. And also, while being single, it's been an interesting experience navigating the fact that I have all this love inside of me and essentially nowhere external to channel it, right? And I think that's been the biggest change for me, is that I feel like I have all this love to give and no one to give it to, which is where self-love comes into the picture.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you have someone to give it to, yourself.
I, of course, will always be the greatest love of my life. But I think learning to do that is also a journey in itself. And that's the one that I'm currently on.
That's lovely.
So are you enjoying being single?
Okay, so I think, obviously the come down from a relationship is its own experience. And what I have been working on lately is reframing my narrative around this stage of my life while really trying to focus on the things that I now get to do that I could not do previously, right? So really focusing on, I have this extra time where I can engage in a 50-minute long skincare routine before going to bed, not worrying about who or what is going to, you know, maybe potentially try to touch it. Like, without
their hands.
So yeah, just like keep your hands away. I'm all alone by myself, and I can really take my time and invest in self-care. Exercise has been something that's come into my life more recently, and in general, just so those are the positives. However, it's not a purely enjoyable experience.
Even I feel the same. Like, I go home, then I have time to go to the gym. On weekends, I go for yoga. And I think that's possible because I'm single. Otherwise, I would have like made plans with my boyfriend or my partner.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love it.
And I just think the opportunity to be completely selfish, right? And to make decisions solely based on what you want to do as opposed to considering another's desires and priorities. Which is part of. So what do you have to say about
No, I hear you guys when you say that you have so much more time, and that time can be channeled, you know, to yourself or your family or your friends. It's definitely, I think the initial part of any relationship, you're in that, you know, honeymoon phase is kind of a bad way to put it, but because you're so smitten, you're spending all your time with that person, it's a great learning to be able to balance your other relationships and yourself and your priorities while being in a relationship. So that has been, interestingly, like Chandra has said that she was always in a relationship. For me, it's quite the opposite. I was always single until I got into my serious relationship right now. So yeah, I mean, it was just situationships before that. And I mean, single in terms of labels. I was in maybe relationships substantively, but so I learned that I have been learning to balance those things. I think with time it settles down, and I think these are things that change with marriage also, dating versus marriage. So when you are with a person, I mean, I'm not married yet, but I think when you get married, you have to kind of create that balance of being with that person, spending time, quality time, yet keeping your individuality, your own identity. Yes. I think at no stage you should not love yourself or make time for yourselves. And these are things that I've learned in 20s. Like when you're younger, you're just like, oh, I have a boyfriend. No. I mean, yes, but life's not all about that. But there are merits to being single, like Chandra said, that there is no consideration. It's the most selfish form of making decisions. But I think that being in a relationship is, as we love saying to each other, which is that there are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs. So I think that's a trade-off you make, to let go of that completely selfish way of making decisions for that added benefits of being in a relationship. Like there are so many, like, benefits is sounds transactional, but there are things that I saw change, right? Like your emotional security, stability, having that safety net in terms of you had a bad day. Of course you have friends, and I still do, but there's this one guy who can't really get away from it. He kind of has to listen. Sorry.
That's really fair, I feel like.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think just as much as we sing the praises of being single, like, it often really sucks sometimes, you know? And there's a lot of reasons why being single really sucks. And I think,
And
what
I
do you
think
feel?
it gets worse with age because all of your friends are getting married now, and you're like that fifth wheel who's like with two other couples.
Yeah, somehow, and that's something that I've been trying to navigate around. Like, couples hang out with only couples is what I'm seeing post 30 happens with people. But then that's why I saw these movies where they had these boys trips and girls outings and dinners, and maybe like that's another thing to balance in a relationship. Like, don't let go of the good parts of being an individual self. It's not single or relationship, it's being yourself and being with someone. So you can't forget the good parts of
Another
either.
big part about being single, especially when you're on the wrong side of your 20s, is that a lot of people in your life, especially your relatives, your elders, your aunties, your uncles, feel that it's their responsibility and that they're entitled to shower you with unsolicited advice about why what's wrong with you, as to why you can't be in a relationship.
And sometimes it's good advice, but sometimes it's just like uncalled for.
Yeah. And it's a time and place and a person saying it, right? Like the same thing being said by maybe a friend, I would take it very differently than some auntie I met at some wedding. So maybe she's very well-meaning. Probably is. But kidding.
I think another part about being single that sucks is that, like, I think loving yourself is really not the same as someone else loving you. I will stand by this. I 100% believe in self-love and that you should be able to fill your own cup. But this is the real world, and we all know we're social creatures, and we all know that life is really beautiful when shared with another, especially one that is your kind of go-to ride or die. And the best part about having a partner is like having a default go-to person. Like, that's my person. Like, I will go to you when I'm going through something, or when I need to celebrate something. When I get news, you're the first person I go to. When something happens, you're the first person I go to. Or someone to also cheer for. Like, for me, it's always been such a joy to be of service to another. Like, I get to support someone else. I get to help them when they are struggling. Like, it's an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling experience that, as a single person, for a duration of time, you don't get to have unless it's with friends, unless it's with like your friends, which again is just really not the same. I will always say this, like, friendships are not the same as relationships.
100%. And it can be also like as small as a good morning text, like getting that text every single day. Like, when you wake up, you know that text is gonna be there. Like, that can't happen with like situationship or some guy that you're just seeing.
I've had bad situationships, but I'm kidding.
Totally. Like, you can't have expectations out of that person until you're in a committed relationship. And the ability to know that you have a right to ask for something. You have a right for someone to show up for you. And you can expect that. You can't expect that when you're just dating someone, or when you're casual, or when you're in a situationship, or when you're very single. Like, I'm not going to ask anyone to do those things for me. And I wouldn't do those things for anyone else unless both of us were showing up for each other.
But on the flip side, the beauty of friendships. Like, I just want to maybe like acknowledge that I agree that having a partner and one default person is amazing, but they're apples and oranges. So I'm just trying to like, I don't have an opinion yet, but I'm just trying to absorb what you said. They're not the same and they can't replace each other.
Yeah.
But then the apples and oranges both are, I mean, I don't know, two fruit that are good for you, maybe.
True.
And I think one without the other, whichever one is not healthy. Like just a relationship without healthy friendships, or just relying on friendships without a relationship. Because I think every relationship in your life, romantic or not, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's your partner, they all serve different goals in your life. So yeah, I think they all are very essential, and because I've seen sometimes like people deprioritize any one of them, maybe family or like friends or really or whatever relationships matter to you, and I think that leads to it's unhealthy. You can't expect just one person to be there for you 24/7, 365. That couldn't be a friend. That couldn't be a relationship. That cannot be a family member, parent, sibling, no one. I don't know where I'm going with this. All I'm saying is,
like, I saw somewhere that you shouldn't be looking for your soulmate. Like, you should be looking for your soul family. Like, your tribe, like building a group of people that.
I thought of something else when she said soul family. I'm like, ek ladka nahi, mujhe 4 chahiye. I'm kidding. No, but I know what you mean.
Get a roster going. But that's not what I meant.
No. That also works. I'm kidding.
No, I have a question for you, Shubhi. You said like you've been single all your life and now you're in a committed loving relationship. So it must be like a huge change for you, like a huge adjustment. Do you miss being single?
I don't think I miss it. But then like I said, I'm navigating the pros of that. So to prioritize my friendships, not let my friends feel neglected, or make time for family. So these are things that, again, for me, being in a relationship was a very new experience, and my partner did a very wonderful job at introducing this to me. But yes, I mean, there are facets of it which I recognize were very healthy about being single, and I'm trying to like there was a point where I felt like for 6 months, okay, it wasn't just my relationship, it was also professionally super busy, had different priorities. I felt like I wasn't talking to my friends at all, and it wasn't a conscious decision, but I had very little time and I prioritized my partner, which I still do, but I still want to like make a little time for my friends, because like I said, I feel like balancing relationships is super important. It takes a tribe, truly. It's not just children, to raise children in your life to have a healthy, balanced outlook. And any relationships, whether they're work relationships, like you have to balance them. And that's been my biggest learning, balancing all relationships. And I don't think you can ever give 100% to, like, you can't always keep everyone happy. So, and that's never going to happen. There'll always be a situation where I'm prioritizing one commitment over the other and the other one will feel bad about it. You have to be okay about making those trade-offs. But at a large zooming out, I don't want any one relationship, whether it's family, friends or romantic, to be the one.
I mean, that's put so much pressure on that relationship.
Exactly. And this has come from my learnings from situationships, actually, because I would put so much pressure and demand so much emotionally from one person. It was probably exhausting when I was much younger. If you're watching, I'm sorry. Not really. But I learned that, one person can't be there 100% of times, I guess. Yeah.
What else sucks about being single? Let's come back to that. One thing I did not expect in this phase of life, which I didn't realize that I was relying on so much, was that a human being, don't know if you knew this, requires at minimum 8 hugs a day.
Oh.
To meet their minimum.
That explains a lot.
To meet their minimum.
For me.
Minimum requirement of touch. Especially
guys, hug time.
Okay.
Self-hug.
Sorry, we're in the middle of a meeting, but it's time for my hugs.
Please on your calendar.
Look away.
No, you can look. It's a very warm platonic hug.
4 to 4:50.
Morning routine. We start our meeting. Starting with the breathing exercises and hugs. Yeah, the physical.
Especially if you're someone who has physical touch as a love language, I think it's really difficult to wean yourself off, and you end up becoming very touch starved, which is a real experience.
Yeah.
Another opportunity to really like show your love for your family and your friends. Hope that your family and friends are not averse to physical touch, which sometimes they are. But yeah, like that's been crazy, I think, for me, and to be able to physically like just make yourself feel warm and happy and cozy and at home in your own self. I think it's a journey to also being happy being alone, right? Like I think being single is one thing, but really being comfortable being alone, spending time in your own company is an incredibly pivotal sort of part of growing up and like being an adult and like really getting used to your own company. And that's something I hadn't done really that much before. And it's hard. It's like really hard. So like I empathize with anyone who's going through that or who has gone through that. But I think to set yourself up for future healthy relationships, like what better way than to know that I'm actually good like by myself. And
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say that interestingly, when I let go of the idea of I don't really need anyone, I'm great on my own. I want someone. I don't need someone. That level of comfort with myself and confidence led to, I think it just subconsciously makes you so much more confident and attractive. I don't know what it leads to.
More able to set boundaries.
Yes.
You don't have to lower your standards then because you need something. You're
Exactly.
able to stand up for yourself, advocate for yourself, and be like, I actually deserve far better treatment. What this is, I can walk away. Like
Exactly.
the ability to detach and walk away is incredibly important when making the decision of who you're going to be with. Because if you can't detach, then that means that you might be choosing someone for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the test is, and I don't know if this is an extroverted thing to say or not, but like going into like a restaurant, having a meal by yourself and enjoying it.
I love that.
Yeah, like for me, that was something that I made myself comfortable with. It all just happened because I was interning in different cities and all. And I'm like, I love going to new restaurants and I don't have anyone to do it with. So I'm gonna like do it myself. It's fine. I'll pack the rest of it. Doesn't matter. Go have a great meal. And I'll actually enjoy my, like it's kind of, they just look at you like, are you expecting someone? I'm like, no, me, just me.
It's funny that society always raises questions, especially at young, like women being alone and being okay with being alone. It's always been a taboo. I don't know why. It's not really the same for men. I don't know.
But
I think
that's one
relationship
thing.
is also like seen as progress. Like there are like check boxes.
Yeah.
Like milestones. Like degree.
Okay. Shadi.
Job. Yeah.
Job also. Sorry.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true auntie.
Getting a degree, getting a job, and then getting like in a relationship, marrying that person. So it's like a checkbox.
Right.
And if you don't do that, like society feels there's something like inherently wrong with you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that script. Like I think that script also exists for a reason, and it's a really
100%.
Powerful way to progress and grow in life.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with adhering to it. However, when you don't, because you don't want to, or maybe you're not able to, that's when you feel like you feel more judged, I would say. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah. But the one thing I love about being in a relationship is that very same thing, the date nights. I always have someone to it really, like to me, it was a very big bonding factor in the beginning that we both love food and we both love exploring new restaurants. But date nights are something that are like a very nice part of being in a relationship and not being single. Like when you're single, you just, of course you can go meet new people or have date nights with friends, but there's something about a very cheesy, like you get flowers before the date and then they drop you home, and I love that.
When you're a single person in your 20s, when all your other friends are in like amazing, interesting, beautiful, on the outside relationships, it's really hard. Okay.
I love the sass. She's like, bahar se to theek hi hai.
On social media,
it's very difficult to gauge. You never know what's actually going on, obviously.
Yeah.
However, I know a lot of my friends are really happy. I know you're really happy. I know that,
Thank you.
people who are just getting married, there's so much excitement in the air. This is also that age where a lot of people are pairing up officially, right? And it's just like really gut wrenching.
Yeah.
To know that why is it that they got it so easily? Like it was always a comparison for me. Like it seemed like, you know, they just fell in love with their college sweetheart and got married and it all was perfect, right? So why is it the case? And then I really think it's an opportunity for introspection on our part, or on my part, that you know, no one else's story is comparable to your own ever.
Yes.
And it's like, well, you know, what are each of these experiences teaching me about myself so that I can show up better in the future? How can I make these challenges and these obstacles catalysts for personal growth and transformation? So that's how I'm trying to reframe what is otherwise a very annoying and a very hassle of an experience of being single.
And it's not just friends, it's also like people you had like a thing with.
Oh, that's it's a very strange
people
feeling.
that I would have gone and hit up later, like
Shaadi ho gayi.
Sorry, baby.
It's hilarious, guys. Like all because I always had things with men who were older. Most of them are married at this point, and it's very weird.
There's a child. We love that.
We love.
Okay, we all love. Like एक second नहीं हुआ कि तीनों शुरू हो गए. No, but I will tell you something very comforting on that point. This is how I rationalize with it, and I still do, and it makes a lot of sense. So when you see people who have been with someone for say 10 years and they get married, or like since college or high school sweethearts, I think every single person, regardless of whether they are in the relationship or they're single, has to put in work to change themselves as individuals. The thing that happens is that the ones who've been together for 10 years, they do it while they are together. So the relationship may look, if you have had a slightly more closer look in the relationship, being friends or whatever, or been in that situation, it may look a little more tumultuous. There may have been like a 6-month, oh, I need to work on myself, or we need to really fix this. But the idea is, whether or not they're together, people need to work on themselves. So the way I used to tell myself is that this thing broke off and I'm working on myself alone, versus I am with that person together technically, but we are working on our individual selves together. But like, it's not easy either way. So it's very easy to romanticize a relationship of 10 years and say, oh, school se saath the, ho gayi shaadi, 18 to 28. And it's hard to see, okay? Like I wish all the best for all these people. And I have some very close friends who have gotten married very recently. But I have seen them put in the work. Now, whether they break off and they put in the work alone, or they're still together and putting in the work, that's the question. So it's comforting to know that this work you're doing now, you would have done it even if you were with a guy for 10 years. So but it's important.
Personal growth and transformation is hard regardless, and requires attention, effort, and energy. And struggle in some cases. But,
I've seen like friends who were back in school probably like super insecure as people, but then now they've become very healthy partners with the same guy or woman, whatever. But that's because over the years they really put in the work, or it breaks off sooner or later, right? Like if you don't put in the work, the relationship won't last, shouldn't last. If you're still with them, good for you.
So like I've seen this thing where we'll get like biodatas, and like if the woman is like 29, 30, people would feel like there must be some, like, why is she not married yet? Like, there must be something wrong. So, like, being single for too long is also, like, I'm sure you're working on yourself and everything, but, like, society makes you feel that if you're single for too long, there must
something
be, like,
wrong with you.
There's something, like, there must be something. Like, there has to be a reason why you're single.
But we don't
because the default is coupled up now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think we agree with that.
No, we don't.
But I do think that there are merits to investing more energy into this earlier on, right? Like not waiting until 29 to really start thinking about what we're looking for in a life partner, right? That's not to say that, okay, we're adhering to society's like regressive norms, but we're saying like in the grand scheme of life, you know, it's an opportune time maybe in your earlier or late 20s to like start really reflecting on what you're looking for and start putting yourself out there. Start putting yourself in environments where you are meeting interesting, high achieving, successful people who you might be able to vibe with intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, whatever it is, right? And if nothing pans out, well, the worst case is that it's a networking opportunity. You've made an interesting friend, or you've met an interesting person, and best case is you sort of meet someone really, really incredible and inspiring.
Yeah.
And try and find some joy in the process too. I mean, like, it's difficult and challenging, but there's beauty in that too. Like, we know love because we know pain also. And there are two sides, and the breadth of the human experience includes all of it. So just enjoy it. It sucks to hear, but you know what?
Is it rolling?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Now that they're gone, there is nothing like being in love with a person. Truly, truly loving them with everything. And having that feeling reciprocated. I don't want to rub it in my single friends' faces, but also, it's pretty cold these days, and there's nothing like having a partner in winters. Alright, bye.